Welcome. Here we are, War 8, and I think I'm kicking it off on Path 8. So let's get things started. Alright, first up we have this Red Skull Section 1. At this point I already forgot the nose, even though we just looked at it, and we have Vox. Now Vox does gain Undermine on the SP1, which does allow him to bypass auto block. So that's the name of the game here. We do medium light medium combos just to build a bunch of buffs. Fire our SP1, this way we get our Undermine, so we don't have to worry about unblockable. Now we fire another SP1, this way we're going to convert all those degens we had back to buffs on ourselves again. And we have the Undermine, so like I said, the Unstoppable or auto block is not something we're worried about. So now the plan is just build up a whole bunch of buffs. We get to a point where we're firing SP2, and then ideally we're going to hit into his block at least once just to pause the degen. Yeah, sure we'll take some damage back, but it won't be enough to KO us. So, slow and steady. Now I should have just went to like almost 3 bars of power. Now you saw I got the notification that my phone was down to 5%. So at this point I'm like, hold up, let me grab my charger, and about a minute later we're back. Which I was only supposed to hit his block once, but we had to find our charger, get our phone connected. But it was enough to pause the degens for a while. And at this point now we have all these buffs on ourselves. And so, a couple of combos, one more SP1, Red Skull will go down. Like I said, I plan to lose health anyway, because I knew I was going to hit into his block at some point just to pause my degen. Now the second hit into his block, that could have been avoidable. So at this point we fire our final SP1, all of our buffs are now degens, and we're not going to worry about tapping his block to pause it, we're just going to let them do their job. Alright. And to be honest, I don't even remember when I ranked Vox, so I'm going to assume it was for BG meta that honestly I don't even remember anymore. But hey, we have a ranked up Vox, so at least rank 3. I think he's cool, interesting. I don't see myself taking him to R4 in the near future, but I know you got some fans out there. Alright, so next up we have Future Ant-Man, and now we're going against this APOC. So plan to just be, typical Future Ant-Man things. We want to interrupt heavies. Ironically there, when I practiced that heavy spacing, we were fine. But, hey, we're high stakes, so that bleed expired quickly and turned into a regen. Oh yeah, we're just getting some knockdowns in, mostly because APOC's a tactic defender, so he can go unstoppable after we get enough debuffs on us, and we want to be able to counteract that unstoppable. So we're going to fire an SP1, get a power detonation on APOC. And see, because we have the endurance from knocking him down, we can counter the unstoppable. And I figured, hey, APOC's a chunky boy, so let's get another detonation on him. Now at this point, my plan is pretty much build to SP2 and fire it when we have the passive power detonation on him. So, as you can see, we have the detonation. Now we fire it while we have the SP2, and boom, bam, bino bop, boom. APOC is down. So hey, Future Ant-Man, you've seen him in a few Mother Wars. Guy's safe. Very safe. Now we're on Section 2. Looks like we're still Path 8 for this whole war. And we have Prowler. Hey, shout out to my alliance. Now, we're just going to stick with medium light medium combos. Ideally, hopefully I get to almost 1.9 bars of power. That's why we do the 5-hit combo, or 4 hits. And that way we get a bunch of degens. Now, in a perfect world, we'd be able to tap his block and pause them for a moment, and then race to our SP2. So trying to manipulate the AI, he's not playing ball. So at this point, we just say screw it. We fire our SP1, capture all the degens before they expire, and get our buffs back. So I was curious if I was able to punish him in time, but that was too early, so that's why we got hit with the falter after the special one. And at this point, I'm like, we got enough buffs on us where we'll have a significant amount of degen. You can see we have 36 degen, each ticking over 10k per tick. So we knew he was going to go down there. Alright, and moving on, now we have this North Star. Now we've fought this guy a handful of times this season. So you know my method, I just back up in the corner and just play it safe. Counter is heavy with our heavy, we get our knockdown, which removes protection and gives us the endurance passive. So now we can counter any unstoppable. Unfortunately, we were not quick enough there. And see, feature Ant-Man safe. We had enough armor ups where he wants to full combo us, so he gets stunned because of it. So we get another knockdown. And at this point, I'm not sure why we slowed down like that, but because of that we missed a hard knockdown. But luckily we have the endurance, so don't have to worry about the unstoppable. And typically, normally when I have like 2 to 3 power detonations, at that point I kind of just want to get to my SP2, fire it while the passive one is ongoing, but unfortunately the protection kicks back in. And as you can see, that first hit took off a chunk of health. The second hit did like absolutely nothing. So unfortunately we were not able to finish him on SP2. Yeah, had we not dealt with the protection, the fight would have been over at that point. But hey, no complaints. Like I said, feature Ant-Man safe. And down he goes. Alright. So now moving on, we have this Zola mini boss, and we got King Sentinel. You know, stun immune Zola, poison rupture, hazard shift. And yeah, this fight, I'm not really worried. I actually fight Zola so much with Sentinel and BGs to a point where it's like, oh, I got assigned to fight Zola with Sentinel? Okay, cool. We got this. So something I like to do is I'll hit into his block a few times and then just actually throw a heavy at the guy. And it's like, hey, most of the time it works, some of the times it does not, but now we have our Intimidate, so Zola's more passive. Now I will say, when Zola does get a bar power, when Sentinel's Intimidate is active, he's pretty active with throwing his special, so don't rely too much on the Intimidate. And I'm not too worried because I know the damage back from Zola isn't that severe. And plus we have our SP3. If we throw that, we'll heal the full health. And near the end of our Sentinel's health bar, we would get armor ups and power gain, so it's kind of hard to die with Sentinel in this scenario. Plus, now we're at 100 charges, so our damage resistance and all that is like supercharged. So we fire SP2, get 10 incinerates. Was hoping that I could at least get because I have the Sentinel relic, so we have a chance to pause the incinerates, but unfortunately, we were not able to do combos to pause the incinerates. So we're waiting out the rupture phase. Now that that's over, we have the unstoppable heavy. We don't have to worry about him being able to interrupt. Fire our SP2. Unfortunately, we could not hit him to pause anything. So we'll just fire another heavy attack. Let the shocks take him down. And at this point, he's so close to the end, we're not worried about the rupture phase. SP1 does the job. Like I said, I'm very fine with taking Zola with Sentinel. So I believe that was my contributions for this war. And let me double check. Yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. Next couple of wars, I actually get my first, next war you're going to see me take on my first tier 1 boss. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, peace.